A very good morning to you. Many thanks for joining us. My name is Lillian Muli, and this morning I'm sitting in for Sarfine, who is away as usual. Every other Tuesday right here we discuss relationships, and this morning we want to talk about relationship goals, couple goals. We see perfect couples on social media, we see them in church, we see them in social outings, but how perfect are these relationships? Are these couples growing together? Are they building each other? What exactly is building each other? Whose money is whose money? Whose parents are we investing in? Are we furthering our education goals? These are some of the issues that we'll be delving into this morning with our guest panelists in studio this morning, starting from this end. You know her, QT of Radio Citizen. She's a resident analyst right here on the show, and she'll be giving her insights on matters, relationships and relationship goals. We're also joined by CJ Atemo. He is a life coach, and he'll also be giving us his perspective on issues around relationships. What is a perfect relationship? Does a perfect relationship even exist in the first place? And we're also joined by Roberta Bobby. She is a blogger and also a resident analyst right here on the show. Many thanks for joining us.
You're welcome.
And I look forward to having a very interesting conversation this morning. I want us to start with the definition of a healthy relationship. I'll start with you, QT. When we say couple goals, and when people casually throw around the term couple goals and the perfect and ideal couple and how they want their own relationship to look like, for you, from where you're seated, what would this relationship look like? How would you define such a relationship?
Couple goals means myself and my other partner, we should be able to come to a conclusion of what those couple goals are, because we cannot be defining couple goals on social media, Lillian. Everyone is doing their thing on social media and guys are like, wow, those are couple goals. To some people, couple goals is starting a YouTube channel together. Those are couple goals to some people, you know. And to some other people, couple goals is posting our cars, our wealth on social media. That's the definition to other people. But to me personally, couple goals is how we are growing together. What does our future look like? What are we planning for our children? Do we even have a future, you see? And most people don't discuss that. People just want to throw around things on social media to give other people pressure. But in real life, you need to talk to your partner about your relationship goals. Those for me are couple goals like, what does our future look like? Financially especially, something that people don't want to talk about. You just let it go out there and then it hits you, boom, wow. So for me, it's about the financial goals. Where are we right now and where are we going? What does my future look like? I want to know, when I'm with a man, I need to know, how does my future look like? Are we building together? Are you planning to do all these things with me? Or are we just sitting here and then you go and do these things? Yeah. I don't want surprises in my life, Lillian. I want to speak to a man and be like, hey, are we building together? Yeah. Are we buying together? Are we doing these things together? You're just seated here with me passing time, and then you go and do these things with someone else.
And yet, truly, we do know that there are men who have invested in land and and then they pass away, and you never know that this land even existed. You never know that this man had invested elsewhere. But we'll get into finances. CJ, are you of the same thought that relationships need to involve planning, they need to involve good communication, they need to involve security, for the woman at least?
Well, I don't know why you'd say for the woman. Because when two people come together, they're both coming in to invest. At least emotionally, they should be invested. Most of the time, men do not probably know how to invest themselves emotionally in something because of socialization, probably. But I don't think a man would get into a relationship if he didn't mean to get into that thing and get some returns on it. But talking about that, I think the first thing for me usually is that you must have some shared values. Because if we don't have that, we already set on conflict. If I believe in certain things and you don't, and those are core values that I'm talking about, not just casual things like today, Roberta, I don't know what color that is, but you wore this color, I wanted black. That's not very fundamental. But then there are those very fundamental core values that somebody would have. And if those two are not shared, you're already going into a place of trouble, because your value system determines the decisions that you make. And when it comes to those kind of decisions, then you're setting up yourself either for conflict or for agreement. And then now there's the element that Kitty is talking about, a vision. Where are we trying to go? So if I am trying to further myself in life, and that sometimes then comes against the woman, like she wants to further herself, but then the man thinks, now I have, for example, a wife, and she's supposed to take care of the family. And then they begin to have a conflict, because at some point when she says, I need to go back to school for further education, the man will be thinking, but I'm taking care of you. What else are you looking for? You don't even need a job. I can take care of you. I can pay you. And the lady will be like, well, you can pay me the money, but I want to use my skills and stuff. So it's the element of the vision. And then also, I love to talk about virtues. You know, the very soft skills in us, and the things that would make me be kind, the thing that would make me be honest, the thing that would make me not mistreat somebody else. Because if I really believe in that every human being should be treated well, then I'm coming together with somebody who doesn't care, who will treat you differently because either they have more money than you or they're educated, you're not. Then there's going to be conflict. So for me, those 3 V's have got to find their place.
Let's hear from you.
You know, I love what everyone here looks. I love what QT and CJ said, because especially QT, because naona kila mtu ni sawa, kila mtu akiwa na definition yake ya couple goals. And I think as we go through life, and especially when we go through social media, you start to feel like there's a certain way you're supposed to be, or there's a certain way you're supposed to look and show up for other people, that we forget to look inward and work on ourselves. And I saw someone, I think it was on Twitter, they wrote that most times your prominent love language ends up being the things that you lacked in your childhood growing up. And I see it reflecting in the way I look at relationships these days, in the way that in my childhood I lacked a lot of friendship, like just genuine friendship. And how I try to define my relationships now is friendship is very, very core for me. It has to be there. I have to feel, the way I feel loved best is if I can call you my friend in whatever situation we're in, whether you're my mom or my brother or my sister or my friend. So what I'd say personally is relationship goals for me is the prevalence of friendship. And this is what CJ said comes in, the things about the values, the things you guys believe in. Things like respect in friendship, communication, hizo ndo vitu sikukwa nazo, like kuongeleshwa, emotional connection, being able to tell each other everything, working on our emotions, how to understand them, how to communicate them, how to feel them and just sit in them. So those are the things I tend to look at in relationships. I mean, like I was saying, social media, ukiangalia social media, unaweza feel hizo vitu cute amesema ndo goals, to buy magari, tufanye nini, but it all boils down to your values, the values that you have and the shared values that you have with this person. The things that you believe in the most are the things that I think should be the goals for you.
And this is an open question to all of you. When we talk about value system, we overlook, and this is a tendency, and that's why we hear people talking about premarital counseling and who you're really getting involved with. And then when there's a clash in the values, you find that we don't share the same perspectives on money. We don't share the same perspectives, like you were saying, of the woman working and perhaps bringing home a higher pay slip. And so in terms of value system, first of all, let's talk about the big elephant in the room, which is money. In terms of a couple and whose money is whose money, what are your views about sharing an account or being transparent about what your spouse earns? I mean, if you get a pay slip, it's something that you should put on the table and say, look, this is what I'm now bringing home. In terms of investment as well, again, men, and honestly, this is debatable, but men have been known to invest in properties that they don't share about with their wives. And so we have a huge chunk of properties that are sitting idle. We know that this has been said by banks because they're not claimed when a spouse is no longer around, or, you know, so a lot of mistrusts, especially when money and assets are concerned. So I'll just shoot this to anyone. I'm sure you have conflicting views about it, but whose money is whose money? Is our money our money? So let me start with the guy in the, I mean, you're the man in the relationship. Your money is our money.
let me start with the thing of the secret accounts, secret property. I think for most men, it's a cultural thing. Generally, even with children, you find they get to know what their parents had when their parents are dead. And sometimes by the time somebody's getting to know that the father had some land or some houses somewhere, this person is 50. They've never been involved in the financial aspects of the father. Very different, for example, from the Indian community, where you bring in your children at about age 14, age 15, and they begin to get into your business. There are so many superstitious beliefs. You know, there are things that don't share your secrets with your wife concerning your money. Maybe they'll take you out to take that money. Your kids, somebody may kill you so that they take over this. So there are a lot of superstitious beliefs around that for your security, don't share too much. There are some people who also believe never share so much with your wife because your wife can leave. That's not your relative. So
the only relatives are the children.
The children, brothers. So all of those things, those are belief systems that we have. And some people feel it is weak to actually show their wives everything. Again, it comes back to cultural beliefs and certain socialization. So somebody feels if I tell her everything, then I've been certain, I'm weak. So they wouldn't do that. And their fathers, their uncles, their grandfathers told them, don't show a woman everything that you have, just in case. So by the time this person is dying, nobody actually knows. And then you see, we also don't do very well with writing wills because it looks like you're signing your death sentence. So nobody knows where the property is at all. So some of these our cultural beliefs need to be looked at. They've got to be interrogated. There has got to be a bit more of open communication so that even if I have some, no matter what it is, well, if I'm not very comfortable telling my wife, then at least a lawyer should know what I have. Somebody should know all the property that I have, and they can come back and say, this is what this person left behind. But most of those come from, and they stem from our cultural beliefs.
Ladies?
What I'd say is, if we are going all in, Lillian, let's go all in. Let's put the slips on the table. If we've decided, if we've talked about it with the man and we've decided, by the way, if he says he wants to see my slip, I mean, why not? I also want to see your slip. Let's put all the cards on the table. But what I believe in, we should have different accounts. We should maybe have one, you know, after we have that discussion, we might decide, the guy might say, I'm going to pay the rent, I'm going to pay school fees for the kids, but you're going to sort maybe, you know, like food in the house. So we should have one account that is for paying the bills. But I believe everyone should have their own account for doing personal things. Because, Lillian, I will not ask for money to go and buy a dress or to go to the salon or to do my own personal things. We have so many things. Even the man, he needs his own money to go and do other things. And you know, sometimes in a relationship, people are different. You might have an analytic, someone who believes in like saving. They really think about decisions before they spend the money. Then we have the other one, who is the amiable, who is the spendthrift. They just go and buy things. Okay, he's bought a car. He's put the car outside the house. He's bought, I don't know, a PS or whatever it is these men buy, you know. They just go and buy things. So you might find in a relationship, maybe the woman is a spendthrift or the man is a spendthrift. So once we put all the cards on the table and we decide, okay, we're going to be paying the bills together. We split the bills. So I think you should have an account for that, so that once you get your salary and all that, you put that money there, then you pay your bills. Now, from there, you decide what you're going to do with your money. Lillian, I don't have to ask for money to do my own personal things. I'm a woman. And also, I believe the man should not borrow permission from me to go and buy his, I don't know, his watch. You know, these men, sometimes they buy things, you know. So it depends who you are in the relationship. I could be the woman, I could be the spendthrift, or I could be the saver, you know. Like I said, there's the analytic and the amiable. So it's up to you guys to actually sit down and decide. If you're going all in, we're going all in. But I believe everyone should have their own money and their own account. Then again, when it comes to what he's saying, like investing, doing your investments, by the time we're getting together, maybe I have my own investments on the side. Maybe CJ has his own investments on the side. Those should remain that way. But I'm not going to I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket. I'm not going to say, let's put all our money in one account. That's where character development starts. Because I've seen people walk away from relationships. We've bought land together. But the man or the woman, one of those people have the title deeds, or they have access to that. they have access to the house. I've had people say, I've walked away from a house or houses we've built together because of peace of mind.
Or that I'm paying a mortgage.
Yes, I'm paying a mortgage for something that I'm not even living in that house, but because I committed to that relationship, things happen. That's why we have things like prenup, you know. You have to sign something to just be safe. If you're starting a business together, please, let's have a clause that says if we separate this business, we are splitting 50-50. Because Lillian, that's where these issues start. We get in all together, we start a business, but by the time I'm leaving that relationship, I'm living with nothing, and I came in with everything.
Yeah, and I just want to jump in. Already I'm hearing people going like, oh, prenup. I mean, are we really in that social, I mean, are we cultured that way? Are we cultured that way where, because signing a prenup essentially sends the message, or I would imagine that
I don't trust you.
I don't trust you.
Yes.
We're not in this for life.
Yeah.
There's a red flag here. So this is mine, that's yours. If we go separate ways, I go with mine, you stay with yours. So prenups, are we there? Are we in a society that embraces or would be comfortable embracing that?
I think tuko kwa age, technology yenye all of us are supposed to be very educated on these things. Yeah. I mean, kitambo prenup ilikuwa inauziwa as a weapon, but now the women are coming up, the women are making more money, the women are in the workspaces, the women are more famous, they're, you know, we're blooming and now we know things, we know a lot more and we have our own stuff. So when you approach such things, just ni poa kukuwa na hiyo extra information, don't take it as they don't trust me or anything, because if they bring it up, then you should feel like, also, let me go back. Date, I always say this, date people who like you. Date people who like you, who are your friend, who they care about you. So that even when you hate each other, kuna hiyo spot ya, but cuties, even alinikosea, but, you know, and
yeah, but
what we do is...
Date people who are your friends, but people change, people make money. Whether, you know, women say, when we started together, he had nothing. And now, with his big Range Rover and his big job, he's showing me things that I never imagined he could possibly show me.
Yeah, I know people change and people say that, but I always say also, like, you have to invest in yourself. If you work on yourself, kabisa, ujipende, ukwe na standards na boundaries, you place yourself at a space where you're able to notice when people are not really on your side. And yes, I know people change, but when you're able to spot these things and you're keen and you're very, very strict with yourself, you'll be able to tell, and I know people change at any point and you can never know who they are, but this is why I say keep educating yourself and pouring into yourself. Love yourself so much and keep choosing yourself so that everyone else who's on your camp is doing the same for themselves and you're doing the same for yourself. This also comes into financial discussions. Sisi, venye CJ amesema, sisi Africans especially, we don't really have a good relationship with money. We're not always ready to have open discussions, and that's why when we get in situations where money is something we must discuss, we shy away or we hold secrets. And kusema kweli hata si madem tunakuanga na stash yetu on the side. It's not just the boys who are doing it. And it's about security. And sometimes it's about just your personality. Si ati unaficha, ni juu tu vile umegrow, umezoea kuweka do kiasi kando that you don't tell anyone about. But when you come into a union where such matters you have to discuss, I say put everything on the table and make decisions from there, because if you make it open and if you like each other enough, I mean being friends enough to talk about, and I keep saying disclaimer, I know people change and I know people are not always forthcoming with such information and honest, but this is where now you work on yourself so that when that time comes where decisions have to be made, ukona enough information. Hata kani a prenup, somebody pulls up with, yo, let's get a prenup. It's not that you feel it's an attack on you. You're able to take it another way. Like, if they're protecting themselves, maybe I also need to protect myself. So you get to know, what do I need to do? How do I need to go about it? But discussions, kama za money, anything that is to be done jointly, these are discussions you have to have, no matter how difficult they are. And if you feel like someone is not being honest with you, then that's it. That's your cue to start making your decision. Don't wait for the point where unasema, Ali change Z, you normally notice. When you guys are talking, you normally notice they avoid the conversation or they hide things. You notice, I think it's just us always projecting our good side onto people that we never want to accept, that maybe ananidanganya ama maybe anaficha hizo property.
Yeah, CJ, the ladies want a prenup, and you're awfully quiet. Like, what is happening to the modern woman? You're awfully quiet. What are your thoughts around prenups and longevity in a relationship or lack of it thereof?
I think to a great degree today, most of the women are trying to live their lives. They're going backwards to who their mothers and grandmothers were, experiences that have been shared. So there's a mutation of the female species because they're trying to protect themselves from what they believe happened and what they saw actually happened before. The women who, when their husbands died, were pushed out of matrimonial homes, lost property, could not take their children to school, families did not treat them well. Some of these women had given up their dreams, their goals, they became stay-at-home mothers, that's all that they did, and so they had nowhere else to go, no skills, no academics, they didn't push themselves, no jobs. So they begin, after probably they've lost their husband, then begin a business. And so they may begin the mamambogas, no disrespect, you know, but they have to start somewhere. They didn't have capital. So some of these girls saw these things, and the conversations around how women have been relating with men over time has been going on for a very long time. Different from how men have conversations. We talk about cars, politics, we talk about football. You know, if we had men here, the first thing is that, oh, you
watch game.
The Premier League and stuff. We avoid all the other stuff. So women have been having this conversation for so long and talking about how do they protect themselves, how do they mitigate against this kind of things. And so it has produced a generation of women who will say, look, I'll go to school, I'll make my money, I'll start my business, I will save, I will get into chamas, I will be getting all of this, I want to be empowered. When a man comes in, all I need from him is the love, is the respect, is the connection, is the companionship, and that. To a great degree, that has also displaced the traditional African man because his traditional role was to provide, take care of the woman. And so it would be easy for the woman then to follow or submit to the man because he's the one who's paying the bills, paying the rent, taking care of her. Now, if I am meeting a QT who has made her money, I've got to bring more than the money to the table.
More than her money?
Not just money, more than money.
Okay.
Like not more than her money, but more than money. I've got to bring something else.
Disclaimer,
I've got to bring something else. I've got to bring a personality. I've got to bring presence. I've got to bring something else. Because now they're demanding for very different things, which on the other hand, probably the men have not been taught to give.
She says you've got to bring presence. Is that what she said?
And affection. Like because these men have been conditioned to feel like as long as they provide, that's enough. But now we're expecting them, what CJ is saying, to show up more. Like you have to have a personality, you have to be respectful, you have to be emotionally intelligent. I mean, you're paying for stuff, but can we have a conversation? Can you tell me how you feel? Because if you can't, I have my own money. I'm just going to pay for my things and leave you there if you don't want to.
And just to jump in on that, what CJ is actually saying, nowadays when a woman has her own money, sometimes she needs more than that, you know. I want respect, I want security, I need a man to be a man. Just come into the relationship, be a man, because if I'm already making the money and doing all the things, empowerment, you know, nowadays, empowerment is a word that is thrown out there just aimlessly, but we are empowered nowadays, Lillian. Them days, Akina CJ are the ones who used to, you know, he has come from a long way and he understands that. But nowadays, things have changed. No. What do you He understands what I'm talking about, but I don't want to go into No, what I'm trying to say is that he's experienced, of course. He's experienced more than we are, and he knows where he's coming from. But all I'm trying to say is that men used to provide. Long time ago, it's the men. The man used to come in the house, actually provide, even bread. I mean, when I was growing up, my dad used to, you know, do all those things. But nowadays, it's the women are stepping up. They are paying the bills in the house. So when you come in as a man, as CJ said, you need to bring in your personality, your character as a man, and security.
Let's carry the conversation forward and talk about carrying the burden of the extended family. Some viewers asking about men being of the feeling that women take their money home. So you're building for your folks, you're Christmas baskets are bigger to the female side. And the men are like, what about my part of the family? So carrying the burden of the extended family and also extended family members that have a sense of entitlement, so to speak, because you married a baller. I mean, why is this man not building us a new granary or a bigger, or an upstairs house? We're still living in that iron tin roof house, and yet I married well. I married a baller.
Those are now the things when Bobby was talking about the conversations that people should have, because one side of the family may have greater need sometimes, and for a particular season, then the focus may go that way. Let's say, for example, one side of the family has a sick parent that requires a bit more of attention, and that side may not have other siblings that are well-to-do. It is a case by case. It cannot be my family versus your family.
Yes.
It's just going to be, what is the more urgent case? What is the emergency? What is the most humanitarian thing to do? So if we say we'll go, for example, 50-50, and you came from a family, your siblings are well off, your parents are well-to-do, this other side, people are lacking, that is not equity.
Yeah.
So I don't think that people should be getting into relationships and competing against each other. It's not supposed to be a red corner versus blue corner. It is, we have a larger family now. So what are the priorities that we have? So if on the one side is a child who's not gone to school, this other side is somebody who is unwell, who needs medication, then we talk about it. Like, how are we taking care of these people? And how far can we go with our finances in taking care of these people? Because again, you can't be there for everybody every day.
Yeah.
And even for those that you will be there for, you can't be there for them all the time. It's got to be sustainable. If you're always giving and nothing is coming in, or what is coming in is less than what is going out, you will be depleted.
Yeah.
You have to be well for you to be able to support the other people. So the discussion also is, as we help the other people, are we affecting our health? Mentally, emotionally, financially? Is it affecting how this family is going? Because we could have somebody who is actually in need, but then now we no longer have a relationship because we've allowed that thing to suck the energy out of us. We're always talking about the hospitals, we're always going to paying the bills. And one person may actually manipulate and say, you think we are spending too much time here, you're manipulating, you are not caring about my parent or my sibling or something. So they're manipulating you with that particular need.
Yeah.
It's a balance that requires mature people who will get to know, yes, we have a situation, but again, you aren't God. You're not going to be able to fix everything. I mean, God doesn't.
Yeah.
He doesn't. He can, but he doesn't fix everything.
Yeah.
So it's discussions that need a lot of sobriety, no matter how emotionally involving they are. And then you look at them in seasons, like at this particular point, probably there's more need on Lillian's side. At some point, we may shift it to another place and keep on having those conversations as you go.
Can I just add to what you asked in the question? If we're keen, you'll notice that most women carry the emotional labor in these relationships. So when you say something like, "Mbona gift basket yenu ni kubwa kuliko yetu," it's because most times the men are not really proactive in the relationships, and the woman has to plan. Hata kama ni kitu kama vacation, the woman shops, she takes care of the kids, she makes sure wameenda kusongwa nywele, wametengeneza, wamefanya kila kitu, wamepack, and then he just shows up with the money, pays the bills, and then let's go.
Yeah.
Even on vacation, while you're running around with the kids, making sure the kids are being taken care of, he's probably more able to relax, and you need the extra help. So instead of always pointing at the other person in relationships, tunashindanga kwa wazazi wako, tunatumianga pesa kwa wazazi wako, tunaendanga huko kila siku. Be proactive in the relationship. Take responsibility and say, as a man, I'm going to do the planning this time.
Yeah.
This time, I'm going to take the kids to do this. This time, I'll do this, you do this. Be proactive, make plans, make decisions, take charge, so that it's not ati wewe unafanyanga ama ninafanyanga. Haifai kukuwa 50-50. It's everyone brings their 100 and then we distribute it as it's needed. If today I show up with 20, you should be able to cover my 80, so that it doesn't look like I'm lacking or I'm not available. And we can only do this if we keep having these discussions, have conversations. Usiogope kuuliza, babe, venye hivi tunaenda conversation, vacation, mi uchoka kupack. Mi upack kila saa, mi ndo upack. Can I please have your help? let him contribute to the conversation. Whether he's gonna ask someone else to help or come himself and help you out, it still counts. But let's keep having these discussions. Ni ngumu, but when you talk about it, you start to see, oh, all I needed to do was ask. All I needed to do was help you out so that you don't feel overburdened. So let's not keep, as men, this is now, I'm talking to the men, to see overburden the women with the emotional labor just because you guys show up financially and then think that's okay. Be proactive in your kids' lives, in your woman's life. Show up and show her that you can take care of her, because you make it so much easier for her to show up for you and cover you as well when you show that you're proactive.
Kitty, I can see you itching to say something.
You know, I'm always the one saying the situation on the ground the way it is. But I'll have to agree with CJ and Roberta on this one, because what you've actually said is an issue. Going home during the holidays, first of all, where are we going? Yeah. Are we going to the man's place? Am I going to my, like the woman is like, I want to go to my mom's place. We've not been here for. These are conversations that should be on the table. And as I said when we started this conversation, please, let's put our cards on the table. Lillian, let's not waste each other's time, because that's what people actually do. Yeah. We waste each other's time. You don't ask, like, and men actually don't like these conversations. You ask them, like, what are we doing? A man will never be able to answer that question, like, what are we? Yeah. They're like, no, we are okay. Like, I love you and we are okay, you know? You're always asking this, like, what are we? Men don't like that question, and they don't like that conversation. Some men, actually, some men, only a few men would want to open up to this conversation, because if you ask a man that, they'd be like, but babe, nakupenda, kwani ni nini ingine unataka, you know? But Lillian, I want to know, what are we doing together, and where is this really going? Am I just here for the short term, or am I here for the long term? So that even when it comes to, are you taking me to your parents' place during Christmas? You know, we might have 5 Christmases and I've never met your parents. Yeah. You've never taken me to your parents. And if we don't talk about this, that's when that time will come and the man is doing shopping. We are taking everything to their side. But if you talk about it, you'll find that you'll go shop. So everything you're picking for both houses, you know. And when you actually balance and do that, it's because you've talked about it. Don't wait for that time to come, and then now you start bringing up those issues. Hey, Kwani, see, we exchange, you know, some conversations, Lillian, they just need to come up before. Be the one to ask the questions, like, what are we doing? Where is this going? Who am I to you? And are you in this for the long term, or for the, are we having fun? If you're having fun, well and good, let's have fun. But if you're doing this, we're going all in, let's have these conversations, Lillian.
Now, in terms of children, very also important conversation, especially when it comes to relationship goals. Couples have different views about perhaps where their children should go to school, what weekend activities they should engage in. And there's a tendency sometimes with couples to differ in terms of such issues. Where are our children going to school? The guy will say, or even the female will say, although I say, I don't know, anyway. The guy or the female might say, you know, we can't afford this private school, it's too expensive. And then the other person might feel like, but we want our children to have better than what it is that we had. So that conflict in terms of the children and how you're raising them and the lifestyle you're giving them, and how to, you know, communicate effectively and be in unison and agreement as regards the direction you want your children to take.
Well, you know, that's where the element of having a vision, a common vision, also comes in, because we must both agree on the kind of children we want to raise and who they need to be. Then when that is clear, we begin to ask ourselves, what does it take to get them there? Sometimes I think the focus on, you know, thinking that if I take a child to a certain kind of a school, it's going to produce this kind of a person, sometimes it is very misguided. That children have to learn very wholesomely. You can take somebody into a place where you're paying a lot of fee, but it's just for the name. It's peer. They come out of that place. They do not have social skills. They do not know how to survive over there. And they can't sustain this life if you're not there. I always say this to parents, that train your children to live without you. They need to learn in life, no matter where you put them, no matter how much you give them, they need to know that life sometimes has all these things that come and show up, and they need to be able to stand on their feet without you. Yeah. So when you're raising your children, don't just think about the academics and the comfort they'll have in school. What skills are they going to acquire? What kind of persons are they going to be? There's so many people with papers out there. So once this child has the papers, what do they do? How do they go about with these papers? Those are the kind of things that you'd be looking at, and you feel maybe sometimes they don't even need a very high school. Maybe they need a school, even when you have the money, they need a school where they learn some skills that they can survive. If they go abroad, if they're here, if you pass on, they can survive because they've learned how to deal with people. They have learned how to deal with a harsh world. You have to temper that because you're preparing them for the world, not for another academic institution. When you come to the conclusion and the agreement around that, then you'll probably be at a place where you can say, I think this school will offer this. If you have, some people want religious beliefs to be instilled, then it becomes easier for them to choose. Some people will feel this child has this kind of gift and talent and something. This particular school will nurture that gift. If you don't believe in gifts and you believe only in the academics, you won't take your child to a place where the gifts are going to be nurtured. You'll be thinking about a school where they score the A. Several times, if I may, Lillian, there are times when I would tell one of my sons is turning 19 this year. At some point when he was in school, I felt there was so much pressure on him that the school was trying to make him become their A student. It was a private school, it was young, and there was so much work that was being given to this boy till we were losing him in terms of you run with the homework till 10, 11, and then in the morning wake up at 5, you're in the books, and you're just about 14 and 15. So there are times when I would say, tomorrow he's not going to school. And then my wife would be like, what? I said,
you're a cool dad. We all want dads like
and I said, listen, no, because I went through that. My mother was a teacher for about 50 years, so I've had back and forth experience. I went through that when I was a kid, that the performance would be elevated above everything else. So what that did is that at a particular point, I started resenting the school because the pressure was too much. So if your academics are not going the way they think, they forget about the wholesome growth of this person. So I started resenting that. And I had a very dramatic teenage because of that. So I knew this is a possibility. And some of the kids that we say in high school and different places will get into alcohol and drugs. They're crying out for something. They feel, I'm not growing as a whole person, and I'm trying to define who I am, and I'm trying to find out who I am. But then all you see is your grades, and this is all that you want from me. And then parents sometimes will use that. I've spent so much money on your fees, I've taken you to the best schools, and the kid is wondering, best for who? Yeah. This was best for you.
Which is what Roberta was talking about in terms of your value system and adults projecting societal pressure on the kids. So if you sit in a conversation with your peers where they're talking about this posh international school where their kids go, automatically you want to keep up with the Jones. And so, what you're talking about, the considerations you're talking about in terms of gifted children, academic prowess, not really always been, the ultimate. Parents tend to overlook that. That societal pressure you were talking about and social media goals. Let's get into that and how we project ourselves and our expectations on our children.
Lillian, when it comes to the children, now that's another thing, because sometimes when I go out with my friends and they start talking about these international schools, my child goes to this school, I take my child to school in the morning, and you're there thinking to myself, oh my God, what am I doing with my life? Sometimes you have these people who they put so much pressure on you, and you're like, okay, Kwani, which world am I living in? Am I, it's like you're in a totally different world. But I think the trick is to actually block all that pressure. If you're hanging out with people who are giving you that kind of pressure, my husband does this for our children, the car that I have the latest car in the market, you need to stop hanging out with those people, because, Lillian, these are the kind of people that give you pressure, and then pressure comes to stress. Stress, you go into depression, and you take that pressure into your house. You start telling your man, no, by the way, we need to change our kids' school. My kids need to go to this kind of school. And maybe, for example, the man can be able to afford the international schools, but his goals are somewhere else. He's like, no, we need to build fast. I'm actually taking these funds to the building. You know, the parks of Mjengo is crazy, you know. The guy here is having pressure of, there's a house over there I'm trying, or there are flats over there I'm trying to build. And then the woman is coming with this kind of pressure. No, 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 I need to drive this kind of car. My children need to go to this kind of school, you know. That's where now the visions come. If you had seated down with your spouse and actually talked about this, you know, there are people who express their love in flashy things. And there are those people who will express their love in like saving. That's why I've said there's the amiable person, and then there's analytic. Analytic will always be like saving, let's save, let's build, let's do this. But the amiable person is the one who is always making rash decisions. Oh, let's buy, we have the money, see, we just buy the car and think about the future later. So there are those two kinds of love, whereby you want your kids to live in a certain, but as CJ said, why are you putting even those kids under such kind of pressure? Who told you these kids want to live that kind of life? Because you might be able to do this for your kids short term, even for your life and your husbands. You might be able to do this short term. But what about the long end? Will we be able to sustain this life that we want to live? This social media pressure, you know, people are surprising each other. Oh, a whole house, Lillian. a whole car.
Where did I go wrong?
Where did I go wrong? Oh, God, please, the God of Lillian, please touch me. Touch my hand. Come and say hi to me.
I want the God of cutie.
I want the God of cutie. Cuties living this kind of life on social media. But in real sense, Lillian, these people are probably servicing loans to actually put this life out there on social media. People are being surprised. So I'm like, even me, I want a grand wedding. We don't need a grand wedding. Let's just sign the AG papers. I have already protected you, because now they're like, I need protection. I've already protected you. You're in my papers, you're in my will. I'm protecting my kids. At the end of the day, who are we working towards for the future? So, Lillian, this social media pressure is what gets people into depression. And that's why we are having so many mental issues, and people are committing suicide because of that, because you're asking yourself, why can't my man love me enough to do this for me? But your man loves you. He's building you that house. But you don't want to see that. You want to see social media. Oh, QT is doing this on social media. Oh, she's dressing this way. She has this kind of car. She has this kind of house. I'm telling you, people are servicing loans out here just to live that life on social media, or even hiring. You hire something like a car or a helicopter or whatever just to show out on social media because you are a public figure. But when you investigate these things, actually, people are servicing loans and they're just living a lie at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So
and
don't get
Roberta,
pressure.
as we move to intimacy and how all these pressure affects couples and their intimacy. Let's get your thoughts on social media parenting and trying to keep up with the Jones.
I think I'm going to bring up something I say all the time again. If you have to work on self, you have to work on yourself so that zile vitu wewe unapenda na umezoea na unaweza accept, you notice them and you can speak on them and you don't settle for anything less. And if you're confident with yourself, you really, really rarely end up wanting external validation. Because unajijua, whether niko na hiyo benzo ama sina hiyo benzo, najijua, mini Bobby. I have the confidence, I trust myself. Mtaniona kwa nduthi, but it doesn't make me any less of who I am or how I show up as a person. My worth is not tied to the material things I have or what I want to show off on social media. And most of the things people show on social media are just the happy parts. It might not be a lie. They might be happy for real. Maybe see loans enyewe ukweli amefika bei. But you see, they only show you the snippets of when they were laughing at lunchtime. When they were in the studio talking. Wakitoka hapo, maybe hata we are not friends, we don't care about each other. But when people see us, oh, they have chemistry. So your values, whatever you hold for yourself, that's what's supposed to be the most important. And I wanted to say, when you're planning for kids or relationships, unaona venye watu create vision boards ama plan your business. That's how I feel people should go. Know what you want, work towards it. Isikwe an oops moment. You want a kid, cool. Before you even start getting intimate with each other, talk about these kids that you don't have that you might want to have. Talk about what kind of school do you want them to go to. Inakani kamati, oh, you're moving too fast. But no, don't accept to kujeka kwa situation yenye you might end up in an oops moment because you guys are not even able to have conversations about simple things like what you eat. Mi napenda ngwashe, wewe unapenda nduma, but we fight all the time when we can just have both or something else different that we like. So have these conversations. Hata kama ni ya kuplan for a kid, make that vision board, talk about everything. talk about where you want to vacation, what you people want to talk about, what you people will be eating. Watu kosana juu ya vitu simple kama kukwa plant-based na kukwa vegan, vegetarian. You start dating and then along the line you can't even plan meals because you guys don't even like what you eat. And these are such basic discussions that you're supposed to have. And if you are somebody who wants external validation a lot, it's not something we do intentionally at TI. I want people to notice. It's just the way we're affected with childhood trauma from the way we grew up even with our parents or in our childhood. You become an adult who's not very secure in themselves. You want other people to always give you accolades because you can't give it to yourself. So it matters to you if you're seen in that bends more than if you love yourself. You don't care about where were your kids, what they think about and how they feel about their school. You just care about what your friends are gonna say, what people will think if they see that your kids in a public school. Sometimes what your kids need is just the core values, just the love, to feel loved, to feel respected, to feel wanted, so that even them as they grow up, hawana hizo ma feelings are international school, ama sijui nini, if it's not necessary, they know that they are enough and they are okay where they are. If they want to improve, cool. If they want something better, cool. If you can provide it, amazing, perfect. But have these discussions, talk about it, no matter how difficult it is. And if someone doesn't want to have the discussion with you, then there goes your answer. Stop waiting at yo chali yangu kila saa nikiongea juu ya anaanzanga ku. That's your answer. He doesn't want to have the discussion with you. Why are you going to go ahead and have kids with them? Instead of also blaming the other person most times, just take accountability for what ulichangiaje kwa hii relationship. Because umse akikwambia values zake, you used to ignore. You ignored all the red flags because you liked them. You refused to see them. And then now you're shocked saying, you know, they switched up on me. But if you're being very, very honest with yourself, you normally see the signs. Just love yourself enough to be able to notice them, so that if someone is shortchanging you or they don't want to have important conversations with you, you're able to say, yo, okay, I thought I liked you, but if we can't even discuss if I like meat or vegetables, then we can't continue.
Thank you for that, Bobby. We're going to take your feedback very shortly, and then we'll come back with intimacy as we begin to wind up. A lot of couples feeling that they don't feel loved. They don't feel, and intimacy is wide. Intimacy is spending time together, is just being present for each other. So let's take your feedback and see what you have to say as regards our conversation this morning. Most of these women, when they start contributing to pay bills, they tend to be superior and respectable, and respect goes. So that's why men wish to provide all and leave them with their money. Men do all this for their peace of mind. Most of these women. Okay, what about those who don't have accounts and they live a peaceful marriage life? It's not all about money. Ni kusikizana na kukubali hali vile ilivyo. Okay. Thanks for that. Why is it that some women don't respect their husband when they have money? I like the program. Kindly talk about in-laws, boundaries, making my marriage hell on earth. Yeah, those in-laws who just come uninvited. Okay, and then you're saying, although there are significant changes in matters relationship today, there are still perfect relationships out there. Trust and communication remains key in a good relationship. CJ raised that as well as Bobby. Okay, and most of these, okay, so we had gone through that. Let's respond to 3 or 2. Which one caught your attention, Bobby? Which one would you like to respond to?
CJ.
You know, the person who's saying that most of the women lose respect for their men when they have money. Again, it comes back to how we are socialized, where the thought that all a man brings to the table is the money. Then when the woman has the money, so she begins to ask herself, subconsciously though, that what role does this person play? And sometimes then the man in that relationship also feels displaced because he doesn't have anything else. He was not taught how to be present emotionally, mentally. There are several things that every woman would want in a man. Number 1 is to be loved. Number 2 is to be led. And number 3 is to be lavished. But we mostly think about the third one. And so when men don't have any money, then they think...
Run that by us again. Loved, led, and lavished.
Yes.
Lovely. I love that.
So...
You're at the lavished bit.
Yeah. And so again, it comes back now to how does somebody feel loved? that's the whole question. That's what we talk about, the language of love. Because how does somebody feel loved? For one person, it's just you being there. If you give them the time. For another person, it's you buy them gifts. You'll hear somebody say, you don't love me. And you're thinking, but I'm always with you and I keep on affirming you with words. But when was the last time you bought me anything? Because that's how that's their love language. And so you've got to learn how to love the other person, not how you want to love. I can't love you the way I think love is. I've got to learn. But then every woman wants to be led. They want to be led. Even the women who have money want to hear that the man is saying, this is the direction we should go, including even with her money. Why don't you invest here? Now, that means that this man has got to have some insight, some wisdom. Sometimes the woman has more money than you, but then you have insight. You have wisdom. This is why we have advisors. It doesn't mean that a financial advisor has more money than the person they're advising, but they're knowledgeable. And they don't quit on that saying, this is a billionaire, I don't have that kind of money, so I cannot advise him. They knew how to make the money, but then they need to maintain their money and multiply it. So as a man, you don't run away because you feel the woman is now making more money. You can still offer leadership in a lot of other things in life that will make this woman feel safe, have a sense of direction. You become somebody in her life that is a coach, a mentor, a teacher, a consultant. Sometimes you play different roles. And if they feel that you're secure enough, in fact, your security, your personal security and emotional stability is enough leadership. That alone is enough leadership, because no matter what they deal with out there, when they come back and they find that you always have a very clear perspective of things, you can separate issues from the emotions and all of that, somebody will feel like, I have a leader, I have a dependable person in here. Then they're lavishing to the degree that you can. Not everybody will be able to buy a car to do this, but then whatever level you are in, even those people who are watching from up country and you in the rural area, there's something you can do that will make this woman feel appreciated as well. I should have added the fourth L, which is every woman wants to be listened to.
Thank you.
Yes. I mean, you think we talk a lot. You think we're constantly
blah, blah, blah.
But if you just listen.
But they want to be listened to. They want to be listened to. And she will know. She will know whether you're listening or not. And a lot of the conversations about, the woman nagging is because she feels she wasn't listened to. Her perspective was not taken in. And sometimes when we talk with the man, we say, why would you think that your wife, who works out in the corporate or in the marketplace, running her business, whatever she's doing, can add value to her bosses, yet she has nothing to say for your home economy? Like, this woman may be running a whole unit at work. She might be a line manager, and they really believe in her personality, her skills. Then when it comes to just running your little house and your extended community, you feel there's nothing for her to say. And that kind of stifles this person because of some of the superstitious and traditional cultural beliefs that we have. So a woman would want to be listened to, even if you're not going to do what she has asked for. But when you listen, it means you're going to be respectful enough to come back and say, okay, this is what you asked for us to do. At this particular point, we're in this particular space, and I'm thinking that we need to do this. That response means that there has been a consideration to her voice. And sometimes that's all she needed to hear. Then she will say, okay, let's go with yours. But not because you said, well, I am the man in this house, I make all the decisions, and you're challenging my authority. It doesn't work like that.
I'd like you to respond, Kitty, to the in-laws boundaries question. Somebody raised that, and they felt that there are some that are really, they really can be, quote unquote, too much. And I don't know when he said or she said boundaries, what that could mean.
A good friend of ours said that's why the in-law has a hyphen, because you need to separate the in and the law, like really. Sometimes, Lillian, the in-laws come in too much. They feel like they have that say, they want to put in words, they want to put in things in your marriage and actually tell the guy, or, this woman should not be doing this, or tell the woman, actually, you should not be paying the bills, your man should be paying the rent and doing all these things. You need to separate your family, which is your wife and kids, and your nuclear family, which is your brothers, your sisters, your dad and your mom. And I think this thing, I said it before, as the man of the house, you need to take charge and say, by the way, listen, this is my house, this is my woman. If she cooks her food like this, I love serve my food like this. Because sometimes the mom comes and she wants to take charge of the cooking. I'd say, okay, fine, she's here for a week. Let her do the cooking. Let her do what she wants. I'd just let her be easy and say, okay, it's fine. She can do the cooking and all that. But sometimes there are things that the mom-in-law or the dad-in-law might comment that might hurt my feelings. We've decided with my husband, we're not going to have kids for the first 3 years. We want to do some other projects. Then the mom is like, hey, when you guys are not getting kids, hey, when the woman, you see such kind of comments. So sometimes the in-laws need to respect the boundaries, because I'd put myself in that situation and say, when I get married, or I don't want to, like for my sisters-in-law, I don't say anything, Lillian, whether I agree or not, because I'm like, when I get married and I go to my husband's place, I don't want my sister-in-law to actually comment on things and feel like I'm out of place. I try my best to make them feel at home, because that's what I want other people to do for me. Yeah. So actually the in-laws should respect that house. It's not your house. Please remember, your son has already decided to marry someone else, and he's building his house. You have your own home. As I love you as my mom and as my dad, but please respect my home. Yeah. I'm with my husband. Don't intimidate my husband. Don't come and say, oh, your man is not doing this, or your man, all he does is just sit down while you do. Maybe we discuss that. I'll do all the cooking. He'll do the dishes after. Why is your man doing dishes? You know, these things, it's up to me and my husband.
But it also doesn't help when as a spouse, say as a woman or as a man, you go running home to tell your in-laws everything that happens within that home. You know, my husband comes late. My husband is not a good provider. I mean, it also creates some tension. The
responsibility of protecting and creating that hyphen is on both sides. Like when I am in a family, my family will respect my wife to the degree that I respect my wife. So I should teach them how to treat my wife. And on the other hand, I should also protect my wife from the other side, so I don't keep on going out and saying, you know, she's this, she's this. Because eventually we still have a relationship going on. Yeah. And then how will they view her? And my wife's side, she has the responsibility to protect me from her family. Yeah. And also to protect her family from me.
Yeah. So we're getting your closing remarks, Roberta. In terms of intimacy, as we close, people are having sexless marriages. Men are not present in the home. Women are also out there chasing their individual goals. So in terms of work pressure, people chasing their individual goals, and how that ultimately affects intimacy as we close. Yeah.
Now, ata si just vitu external kwa relationship, capitalism is really taking a toll on all of us. We're really struggling just to stay above and, you know, pay bills and get things done. Says it's almost difficult to have one person only earning in the home. Like, we need 2 incomes coming in. So all these things, they really, really affect the intimacy in the relationship. But I'd say that when you start to feel like you're losing the relationship, you have to start refocusing again. All relationships are very intentional. You can't just say, oh, it's a season, tulengane and then itapita. You have to be very deliberate. And I'll keep saying, please have these discussions, talk about it. If you're feeling like you're not in the mood or you're not there yet, talk about it so that you guys can come together and find solutions. Maybe you need extra help. Maybe you need to see someone. Maybe there's some exercises you need to introduce into the relationship to make you guys, you know, more excited, more loving each other. But ultimately, something CJ said, consideration. Relationships zile zinakuanga na a lot of consideration. They tend to go further. And someone in the comments said that watu wengine hata wana bank account. Kuna vitu zingine mnaweza fanya, see about the money or about the what. It's about your consideration, showing up, put effort, be intentional. And the only way you'll do that is if you feed into yourself. Pour into yourself, love yourself so that you know how you want to be loved. And then when you seek love from elsewhere, you know the kind of standard of love that you expect and need. And then now, hata mkikosana vile we mwenyewe ukikosana, kama usikipoa, the way you treat yourself, you're always going to extend grace to your lover, to your friends, to everyone around you. So, jijue, jipende, and then now you're able to manifest all your feelings and everything else into your relationship.
CJ, QT, we're closing now. Okay. Parting remarks.
Well, I think intimacy is just an element of being present in the other person's life and caring about them, being concerned and feeling what they feel. I feel when you build it at that very basic level, everything else begins to flow. including even the things of, the sexless marriages. Sometimes it's because there are a lot of unresolved issues, the unmet needs, the things that have been pushed under the carpet, the listening part that I was saying, and that could be on both sides, stresses that people are dealing with. And if I'm going through stress, if you're present in my life, I will feel safe enough to connect with you. So be present in the other person's life.
The same way you wake up and go to work and work hard for that job to get the money, same way you should work on your marriage. It's also part of life. So try to balance between work and marriage so that you work on the intimacy, because as you said, people go even for like a year without and say, he's not touched me for a whole year. Work on your marriage the same way you're working on that job. The same way you're expecting salary on that job is the same way you're expecting fruits on that. So it's totally up to you to work on it.
Many thanks. And those are the thoughts of our panelists in studio this morning: relationship reflections and relationship goals, and how you can take your relationship to the next level if you're struggling with issues around investment, finance, being present as a man or as a woman, being good role models for your children and making the right choices for them. We thank you so much. I was in studio this morning with QT. She's our resident analyst, also here with us at the Royal Media Services at Radio Citizen. We're also joined by CJ Atemo. He is a life coach. And also with us was the lovely Roberta Bobby, who is a blogger. Many thanks for your time. My name is Lillian Muli. Keep it Citizen TV.